Welcome back to Sexpertise. I'm your host, Erica Rivera. Tonight's episode is all about reclaiming something many of us do not get enough of, and that's rest. In a world that constantly demands productivity, emotional availability, and performance, even in intimacy, slowing down can feel radical. But rest isn't laziness. Rest is recovery. Rest is medicine. And rest is one of the most powerful ways to rebuild desire. If you've been feeling disconnected from your body or struggle with low libido, you might not need more effort, you might need less. Less pressure, less performance, less pushing yourself past your own limits. Rest softens the nervous system, lowers stress hormones, and makes space for pleasure to return naturally. Today, we're going to explore why non-sexual touch, playfulness, stillness, and genuine downtime can reignite intimacy in ways forcing desire never will. This episode is your permission slip. Your permission slip. My thoughts are there. It's just hard to come out sometimes. It is your permission slip to slow down, breathe, and let pleasure find you again. Without the guilt, without pressure, and without rushing your body back into a state it's not ready for. So let's dive in. Rest isn't laziness. It's an act of reclaiming your humanity in a culture that demands constant output. Most of us were raised to believe we earn rest only after productivity. I'm honestly guilty of that. That stopping is a sign of weakness. But in reality, rest is a prerequisite for aliveness. When you're in survival mode, your body is prioritizing basic function over joy. You can't feel sexy or creative when your nervous system thinks it's in danger. Rest gives your body permission to come back home to itself. In relationships, rest becomes a radical form of intimacy. When you and your partner both slow down, you're saying, "We value being more than doing." It's that shared stillness that lets connection deepen without pressure or expectation. There's no rush to please or perform, there's just presence. That presence is the seed of both safety and desire. When we reframe rest as a sensual, self-honoring act, it becomes foreplay for the soul. Rest allows us to breathe again, to notice touch, to savor the little things that make intimacy meaningful. It's the quiet foundation for everything else that follows. So, physiologically, rest and arousal operate through the same biological system. The parasympathetic nervous system, also called rest and digest. When cortisol, the stress hormone, is high, it suppresses oxytocin and dopamine, the very chemicals responsible for pleasure, bonding, and desire. You cannot access erotic energy while your body is in defense mode. Think of your nervous system as a dial, all right? A dial, not a switch. You can't simply flip from stress to sex. The transition must be gradual. Simple actions like slow breathing, gentle stretching, or listening to calming music activate this rest response. Once your body feels safe again, pleasure can reemerge naturally, not forced, but allowed. Understanding this removes guilt, and when you're exhausted or numb, it's not because something is wrong with you, it's because your biology is doing its job. Rest is the reset button that brings balance back into your hormones, your emotions, and energy. Sorry. Before we can rediscover desire, we need to process what exhausted us in the first place. Burnout leaves behind residue, emotions we didn't have time to feel. Rest is where those emotions come up for air. It's where grief, frustration, and fatigue surface to be witnessed and released. It's okay if rest feels emotional or even uncomfortable at first. Many of us have learned to fear stillness because it brings up what we've avoided. But emotional digestion is a part of healing. Without that pause, you're layering new experiences on top of old fatigue. When you allow rest to cleanse your inner landscape, your energy becomes clearer. You make space for curiosity, laughter, and arousal to return, not as obligations, but as organic extensions of wellness. We often measure relationships by how much we do together. Trips taken, dates planned, chores shared. But true intimacy isn't measured in activity, it's measured in space and peace. Sometimes doing nothing together is the most productive choice of all. I know that sounds weird, but hear me out. Imagine spending an evening with your partner where the goal isn't to entertain or achieve anything, it's just to be. Maybe you're lying on the couch, listening to music, or simply holding hands in silence. That shared pause nurtures connection far more than endless doing. Redefining productivity and love means giving yourself permission to slow down without guilt. It teaches both partners that rest itself is valuable, that presence is enough. This shift turns rest into a form of love language, a quiet declaration of, we matter more than the noise. And before we continue, I'm so sorry. My allergies are kicking my butt again. That's going to happen often on this show. It's just the reality of of my biology. So usually when the season changes, this happens. And if I had to pause the show for allergies, we wouldn't have a show. That's how often this happens. So just want to excuse myself also because we have listeners that don't watch but listen to the podcast version afterwards. I just wanted to make that disclaimer for the sniffles. All right, so let's continue the erotic power of slowness. So, all right, back to getting my thoughts together. All right, slowness amplifies sensation. When we take our time, we notice details that would otherwise disappear. The warmth of skin, the rhythm of breath, the pause before a kiss. These small details awaken desire more deeply than any rush toward climax ever could. The nervous system thrives on predictability and calm. Moving slowly signals that safety is present, which allows arousal to flourish. That's why foreplay, mindful touch, and eye contact can sometimes feel more intimate than sex itself. I'm sure some of you can relate to this. They give the body time to trust. So start with something simple. Extend moments that already exist. Take a few extra seconds to breathe before initiating touch, or hold a gaze just a bit longer. You'll feel the energy shift immediately. Slowness doesn't diminish intensity, it deepens it. Non-sexual touch is one of the most powerful tools for rebuilding safety in a relationship. A gentle stroke, a cuddle, a hand resting on the thigh, these gestures tell your partner, I'm here, I see you, and I don't need anything in return. That reassurance is often the missing piece in overworked relationships. When touch stops being transactional, it becomes transformative. Couples rediscover the comfort of closeness without pressure or performance, and the body learns that intimacy can exist without expectation, which ironically makes desire easier to access later. If sex has ever felt distant or stressful, begin with simple pressure-free contact. Hold hands while watching TV. Hug for 30 seconds. Sit close in silence. These micro moments rebuild the foundation that desire will stand on when it's ready. Play resets the nervous system and rekindles joy, both of which are essential for sexual wellness. When we laugh or explore something new, we release endorphins and oxytocin, the same hormones that foster arousal and bonding. You don't have to schedule play. It can be as simple as dancing in the kitchen, singing badly together, or sharing an inside joke. Play reminds your body that connection can be lighthearted again. It's a way to rebuild intimacy through joy and not obligation. Couples who incorporate play into their routines often find that sexual desire returns naturally. Laughter is foreplay. It lowers defenses, melts tension, and reawakens curiosity, which is the true heart of desire. Choosing to rest is an act of defiance in a world that profits from exhaustion. When you say, I need time, you're breaking free from the conditioning that equates worth with output. You're declaring that your well being is not negotiable. Man, I preach that. Sorry. I preach that all the time. It should be non negotiable. And for those of you listening or watching, make sure that it is non negotiable, especially if you're in the workforce. In love, rebellion is in love. Say no. I was going to say, I was going to refer to being rebellious, but same difference. Say no to overcommitment and say yes to slow mornings together. It's choosing connection over constant motion. These challenge the idea that love must always be productive or performative. Rest is political, it's sensual and spiritual all at once. It's the radical belief that you are enough even when you're still. It's the heartbeat of sustainable intimacy. Rest doesn't always mean lying down. Sometimes it's mindful movement, yoga, dance, walking that helps you reconnect. Movement grounds you in your body, shifting awareness from anxious thought to embodied presence. Embodiment restores your relationship with sensation. When you feel your body again, you rediscover pleasure's subtler textures, warmth, rhythm, expansion. Desire thrives in awareness, and mindful movement is one of the most effective ways to cultivate that awareness. Take 10 minutes a day to stretch, breathe, or move intuitively to music. You're not performing, you're reconnecting. Every conscious movement says to your body, you are safe to feel again. Now, time alone isn't avoidance, it's integration. It's where you rediscover who you are outside of roles, expectations, and noise. When you can rest comfortably in solitude, you bring a fuller version of yourself into partnership. Solo rest might mean meditation, journaling, or self pleasure. These are not luxuries, they're acts of emotional hygiene. They refill the reservoir from which connection flows. When you're not nourished, you give freely, not resentfully. So, self intimacy teaches you what calm feels like, so you can recognize it in others. The deeper you know your own stillness, the more gracefully you can share it. Now, rituals, they anchor our rest in routine. Maybe it's sharing tea before bed, stretching together, or simply lighting a candle as you unwind. The ritual matters less than the intention behind it, which is creating consistency around calm. When couples treat rest as sacred, they protect it from intrusion. Over time, the body begins to anticipate peace in those moments, allowing deeper relaxation to arrive faster. Rituals turn downtime into connection time. These small, repeatable acts, they strengthen trust and predictability. Two pillars of emotional safety. A relationship that rests together, grows together. I'm sniffling way too much. I hate it. I hate it, but the show must go on. All right, boundaries. One of my favorite topics. Without boundaries, rest becomes impossible. Every yes to another obligation is a no to yourself. Healthy relationships require honest communication about capacity. Saying, I can't tonight, is not rejection. It's just energy management. Boundaries keep resentment out of intimacy. They allow partners to give from abundance instead of exhaustion. When your no is respected, your yes becomes more meaningful. This week, after you watch this and you listen to this, schedule at least one nothing night. Just one. No screens, no plans, just presence. Protecting that space is an act of devotion to uh, your relationships, uh, how long it'll last. It's gonna protect that longevity. That's the word I was looking for. It's going to protect your relationships' longevity. Pleasure is not always grand or wild. It's found in the sensory richness of daily life. The warmth of a mug, the rhythm of rain, the scent of someone you love. When you move through the world with awareness, everything becomes erotic in its own quiet way. Presence amplifies sensation by removing distraction. It's the difference between eating mindlessly versus savoring every bite. That same principle applies to intimacy. When you're fully there, you need less stimulation to feel more. So practice presence by turning ordinary tasks into rituals of awareness. Feel the water on your skin during a shower. Listen to your breath. Every moment is an invitation to reawaken pleasure through simplicity. Many of us inherited guilt around doing nothing. I'm one of those people. Maybe we watched parents equate worth with work or absorbed cultural messages that rest is laziness. But that shame keeps us stuck in survival mode, unable to access joy or desire. So healing begins with permission. You're allowed to rest without justification. You're allowed to exist without producing. Rest isn't a pause in your life, it's part of living. When you honor rest as sacred, you teach your body that peace is safe, that safety is what allows passion to bloom again. Freedom doesn't always roar. Sometimes it sighs. All right. So, as we close this two-part series, remember, rest is not an escape from intimacy. It's the soil that intimacy grows on. You cannot rush connection and you cannot fake safety. Both emerge naturally from restoration. Your body is not your enemy. It's your home. It's your guide. It's your greatest ally in reclaiming sensuality. When you rest, you remind it that it's safe to feel pleasure again and that it's how you turn and transform burnout into bliss. So tonight, give yourself permission to rest, not because you've earned it, but because you deserve it. Pleasure begins when pressure ends. Thank you so much for spending this quiet, somewhat quiet with all my sniffles, but this intentional, let's choose the word intentional time with me. If there's one message I want you to take into the week, it's this. Rest isn't the opposite of desire, it's the foundation for it. When you stop pushing yourself to feel more, your body finally has the space to feel what's already there. Now, tonight's Intimacy Insight tip sheet is now live on Patreon. Please visit and subscribe at patreon.com/the Erica Rivera. But that tip sheet is now live with practical tools for integrating rest, non-sexual touch, mindfulness, and play into your intimacy routine. And if you're navigating burnout, low desire, or emotional overload, I'm also available for one-on-one virtual consultations to support your healing and reconnection. You can contact me at sexpertise at e360tvlive.com. You could also find me at the Erica Rivera on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, all the things. All right, I will see you next week for another empowering episode of Sexpertise. Until then, honor your body, honor your boundaries, and let rest be part of your pleasure. Have a good night.